السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. نبدأ مناقشة how to fill a partograph. A partograph is a graphical presentation for the observations made for a woman in labor, so that by looking for this graph you can decide whether this labor is normal or not. The partograph helps us in having a brief and organized description of labor, as during labor frequent records are usually done with the time, so that at the end of labor, which may take hours, there may be confusion and difficulty in understanding the progress of labor. That is to say, for example, let's the patient stays in the labor room for 8 hours or 10 hours. There are frequent observations every half hour, every 1 hour, so that by looking for this graph you can have a brief information about how the labor progressing. This is the WHO partograph. You see it starts by the patient's name, gravida, parity, hospital number, the date of admission, the time of admission. This should be plotted here in the initial information, patient filling. And here the ruptured membranes. If the patient told you that she had a sudden gush of large amount of a clear fluid, this is ruptured membranes. And here the hours, which means how many hours since ruptured membrane. The components of the partograph. First part is the fetal condition. Here it is at the top of the graph. The second part is the progress of labor. Here, this is the progress of labor. And the other part is the maternal condition here in the bottom of the graph. So 3 parts: fetal condition, progress of labor, and maternal condition. Regarding the fetal condition, fetal records include fetal heart rate. You see here between 100 to 180. The records usually made every 30 minutes. You see each 1 square equals 30 minutes. You plot here a dot or circle corresponding to the time of examination. This is the fetal heart rate. Next, the Likert state here in this square corresponding to the time of examination, or when you see the Likert draining per vagina. The other is the molding. Here can be assessed by vaginal examination, which is usually done every 4 hours in low-risk population. Unless an abnormality indicates abnormal progress, the frequency of examination can be every 2 hours. We plot the state of molding here in this square corresponding to the time of examination. The membranes state plot in the square corresponding to the time of examination. Intact membranes means I. Ruptured membranes with a clear Likert, we put C. Ruptured membranes with meconium-stained Likert, we put M. Ruptured membrane with a blood-stained Likert, we put B. And ruptured membranes with the absent Likert, we put A. For example, the patient having oligohydramnias, so there is no fluid issuing from the cervix. Molding, plot the finding corresponding to the time of examination. If the membranes are separated and sutures easily felt, which is normal, we put here circle. If the bones just touching each other and the sutures not easily felt, we put 1 plus. This could be physiological, especially with engagement of the fetal head. Overlapping bones that is not reducible on vaginal examination, we put 2 pluses. And if it is severely overlapping, not reducible, we put 3 pluses. If it is reducible easily, we put 2 pluses. If it is non-reducible, we put 3 pluses at time of examination. Here you see these are the bones are separated, the sutures easily felt, we put circle here. just touching each other's not felt sutures, we put 1 plus. At time of examination, the bones overlapping one over the other but can be reduced on vaginal examination, we put 2 pluses. The bones are overlapping severely that are irreducible on vaginal examination, we put 3 pluses. This is a sign of obstructed labor, and the fetal head may not be delivered vaginally. Example of fetal heart record. Here we see at time of admission the fetal heart was 130, intact membranes, molding 0, no molding. So fetal heart observation every half an hour, every 30 minutes you put a dot, and then we connect between them with the lines. After 4 hours, the membranes become ruptured with a clear lacquer. There is molding 1 plus. We continue the fetal heart observation. After another 4 hours, the membranes or lacquer become meconium stained and the molding 2 pluses. And this is an example of fetal records. Part 2, the labor progress. This part is the main function of the partograph. This part will give us a description about how the labor progresses. The records include cervical dilatation plotted as X at time of examination, descent of fetal head plotted as circle at time of examination, refers to the number of fifth palpable abdominally, and uterine contractions record the number of contractions per 10 minutes and the duration of contraction. You see here we have 5 squares in 10-minute period. More than 5 contractions refer to tachysystole, which is an abnormality. The duration of each contraction, if it is less than 20 seconds, plot dots here. If it is 20 to 40 seconds, plot lines as here. So here we say that we have 2 contractions in 10 minutes. Each contraction lasts between 20 to 40 seconds. And if the contraction lasts more than 40 seconds, fill the square like in C. We say here that we have 2 contractions in 10 minutes. Each lasts more than 40 seconds. Example of labor progress records. This patient is admitted here. This is the hours since admission. So here we have this is the first hour, and here the time in a 24 hours window. Okay, so at 10 o'clock, which is the first time of record, the patient has 5 cm cervical dilatation. Put in mind, if the patient admitted in active phase of labor, we start the record in the alert line. Okay, the first reading, if the patient is in active labor, is on the alert line. You see, here we plot X corresponding to 5 cm. Okay, starting on the alert line and not here. Okay, we should start here. The fetal head was 4/5 palpable abdominally, put circle here. The uterine contractions were 3 contractions per 10-minute period, here 10 minutes, each contractions lasting between 20 to 40 seconds. The frequency of observation of contractions is every half hour. So you see here, every half hour we measure the contraction and we plot it on the partograph corresponding to the time. So we have the first hour of admission, second hour, third hour, fourth hour after admission. The time is 14. The cervical dilatation became 9 cm dilatation. The fetal head is 2/5 palpable abdominally. Okay, then we connect between these. You look that normal labor should be on or to the left of the alert line. When we passes the alert line, this means an abnormality, and reaching the action line indicate an action. Okay, so an example of labor progress record. Maternal condition includes drugs given, IV fluids, and if labor is augmented, you put oxytocin, how many units and how many drops. Pulse and blood pressure, temperature, urine volume analysis for protein and acetone. The frequency of observation: maternal pulse every half hour to 1 hour, blood pressure every 4 hours, unless otherwise indicated. For example, if the patient having hypertension or preeclampsia, more frequent and close observation is indicated. Temperature every 4 hours, urine evaluation again every 4 hours, unless otherwise indicated. For example, renal disease or hypertension, preeclampsia, more frequent observation may be indicated. Here at time of admission, okay, the maternal pulse was 90, blood pressure 120/80, temperature 37. You see to the right of the time of examination. The urine amount was 200 ml, no protein, no acetone. The maternal pulse every half hour observation, we put a dot and then we connect between them. Blood pressure records after 4 hours, 120/80, temperature 37, urine volume 100, no protein, no acetone. Any drugs given, IV fluids should be put it here. Okay, for example, this patient taking pethidine when she was 6 cm dilated cervix. Thank you. The next lecture will be a case examples of how to fill the partograph.